Here's a space age gift for kids from Radio Shack. The original Space Patrol walkie-talkie. You get 2 for just $14.95 a pair, and they really work. They're crystal controlled and battery operated, just like Dad's biggest CB units. And they're built in Radio Shack's own electronics factory. So this Christmas, thrill your kids with a $14.95 a pair Space Patrol. Only at Radio Shack. A Tandy company.
For 1977, a new Ford Granada was brought to Germany for its toughest ride test against a $20,000 Mercedes-Benz. The testing was conducted by German engineers. To evaluate riding smoothness, they drove the cars over a variety of road surfaces, including cobblestone. Inside, their sensitive vibration recorder took readings, and it showed this. In 75% of the test conditions, the Granada and the Mercedes rode with virtually the same level of smoothness. Then, to evaluate quietness of ride, interior sound levels were measured in decibels on the International dBA scale. Their findings, at every speed tested, the Granada consistently rode as quiet as the Mercedes.
Es ist wirklich bemerkenswert, dass Ihr Granada in diesen Tests mit dem sehr teuren Mercedes vergleichbar ist.
Ford engineers have achieved this level of quietness and smoothness at the modest price of a Granada. When America needs a better idea, Ford puts it on wheels.
Sunday on Kojak.
He's gonna kill me.
Who is?
This man who died a year ago.
Makes that much difference?
Difference.
She'll bring me back to life.
He tried to follow me.
Frank Kilton's dead.
Suppose you kill someone.
We got this yo-yo bomber running around exploding these things at will. So we pay and it's over. Braden's department store's been bombed. One of the customers was killed.
A Kojak thriller. Sunday at 9, 8 Central.
And welcome to our cozy studio here in Bloomington, Minnesota. Irv, I'll tell you, some first half, it has been all Minnesota, but one thing about George Allen's teams, they never quit, so stick around for that second half.
You know, Brent, yesterday I was saying, why are they so loose, carefree, and relaxed out there? They were unbelievable.
The Minnesota team.
The Minnesota team. Now, before the big game, I didn't understand that. Now we know why. They are flying higher than a kite. And we've seen a lot of Hail Marys attempted here today, but the spectacular one to Sammy White, I can't wait to see that one again.
That was some play, but Irv, I'm interested in your point about it. Now, in looking at the replay carefully, Kenny Houston's coming across on the ball. He's going for the interception. It looked like he had a good shot, but what you're saying is he should have cleared it out or what?
Well, you know, defensive back, anytime the ball is in the air, you try to go ahead and get it. Now, Houston was doing that, and he was in good position, but he had to really overreach to get it. If there's any question in your mind about it, get both hands as off he can, bat it down to the ground, drive it down, because when you bat it up the way he did, you know, you get spectacular catches where they got out of Sammy White.
We're going to see that play a little bit later in the pregame. However, there is a major Davis Cup story unfolding. You know, the United States has lost each of the last 2 years to Mexico. For an update, let's go to Gary Bender in Tucson.
I'm Gary Bender. And I'm Marty Reeson. And yesterday's story was Roscoe Tanner's defeat of Raul Ramirez.
Okay, Marty, let's see the final game of Tanner's straight sets victory over Ramirez.
If he does happen to get a lob over your head, throw it back up in the air. Don't be trying to turn around and make some flaky pass and shot, all right? You've got a touch of wind in your face if you end up having to hit a lob, all right?
Yeah.
So far now, you've hit every backhand overhead when he's got on the backside back down the line, and he's staying there now. You might want to come back the other way with one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pull it back cross court, which is really your natural shot, all right? All first serves. Don't be afraid to serve into that forehand, to kick one into the forehand, all right?
Yeah.
First serve, first serve. Let's close them out right here. Make your favorite volley.
And close him out he did, Marty. A remarkable comeback by Roscoe Tanner, down 1-5 in the first set.
Well, he's down 1-5 in that first set and 3 set points at 5-1. But now he's come back to lead 2 sets to love, and he's up 5-4 here. This is the most remarkable comeback and victory for Roscoe Tanner. There he is. He's following coaches Tony Trabert's advice. First serve in, came in, put a winning volley away. 15 love.
Roscoe Tanner calls this his greatest victory.
Well, I think it is. He beat Jimmy Connors at Wimbledon, but this is even a better one for him. Look at that. Another first serve in. Ramirez can't return it, and he's up 30 love. He seems very calm out there, going for this match. not even letting Ramirez touch the ball. First serve in, came in, put that volley away, and Ramirez can't get to it, can't scramble. And Roscoe Tanner, the United States, and Tony Trabert stand at match point.
He suppresses a smile.
I think he's a pretty happy man. He thinks Roscoe's got it. There it is.
There it is.
The match, the United States. Roscoe Tanner played a great match. This is just a fantastic win.
6-4, 6-4. Thank you, linesman. Thank you, Bobo.
Just tremendous. Played a great game. Michael, shake hands. Captain, thank you.
Roscoe Tanner in straight sets, a happy young man.
Well, he sure is, and he's given the U.S. a big lead here, 1-0 over Raul Ramirez in Mexico. Great going, Roscoe.
So much for another my number.
Just imagine now what you've done. First serves, you know, everybody talks about 19 aces. Maybe we don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even go for it.
No, but look at all the good volleys you got, the sitters. And instead of worrying about doing inside-out stuff, flaky little crap, you do good, sound, solid stuff. Even when he stood there, he seldom got the ball by you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that, and I keep saying it, 30 love, love 30. Look at it, look at it, look at it, because if you see it, you're going to make it. Okay? You were super.
More Davis Cup highlights at 5 and 6, but right now to Brent Musburger in Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington.
Gary Bender, thank you very much. Gee, Irvin Phillips, was so interesting to hear Tony Trabert coaching down there on the sidelines, and of course the job that he is doing with that team when you consider that Jimmy Connors has refused to play because his mother says that he needs the rest. Now, we've got more coming up as the NFL Today continues on CBS right after this word from your local station.
Gloria's announcement that she may be pregnant again surprises Mike on All in the Family tonight at 9, 8 Central on CBS.
Back at halftime in Bloomington, Minnesota, the Vikings leading the Redskins by a score of 21-3. Second game today out on the West Coast, Oakland against New England.
And it's going to be a great one, folks. Making their first playoff appearance in 13 years, the New England Patriots are the surprise of the postseason. Their success started when Chuck Fairbanks settled on Steve Grogan as his quarterback. Well, today, New England faces the uphill task of beating the Raiders in Oakland. But Grogan and his teammates already have beaten Oakland once this season, you'll remember. So you can't blame Coach Fairbanks for thinking, along with Tony Bennett, the best is yet to come.
I'm mad that Al Davis probably had that music piece as required viewing on the part of the Oakland Raiders. And also tomorrow, coming up on CBS, Dallas and Los Angeles. We'll be pulling out right after this game, but Pat Summerall is down there where he'll be working with Tom Brookshire. So let's go to Pat now for a report.
All right, Brent, there's nobody at Texas Stadium but us and the Los Angeles Rams right now. They'll be matched up against the Cowboys tomorrow. And there still has been a lot of speculation here, but not only by Ram coach Chuck Knox right now watching his team practice along with his assistants. Still been a lot of questions about who is going to be the quarterback for the Rams. As you know, Pat Hayden started last week but was injured Saturday night against Detroit. And there's been a lot of speculation about who it will be. Earlier today, before practice, in fact, Tom Brookshire talked with Pat Hayden.
Well, Pat, you don't look wounded. You're going to be the starting quarterback. How is the knee, honestly? How does it feel?
Oh, it feels very good. I've just about lived with our trainer the past week, and it's responded very well to treatment. I've practiced some for the last 2 days, and it's going to be no problem, no excuse for me.
The arthroscope, they looked inside the knee. A little bit painful to get that out, but that keeps them having to cut.
Right, yeah, and I was very relieved that it didn't have to cut on it. And like I say, I feel fine, and we're looking forward to the ball game.
Pat, have you ever seen Too Tall Jones? You and I hit right into his numbers. That's an incredible defensive line, right?
They really are good, and they played so well all year long, and their defense is playing super right now. So we're going to have to execute. Hopefully we've got some things in our game plan that's going to take advantage of some of the things we do well, and we feel that they do poorly, but which aren't too many. But like I say, we're going to have to execute and play awfully well.
Big game for a big quarterback. All right.
Thank you very much.
Pat Hayden, by the way, Patrick, in 60 completions, he had 8 touchdowns. I don't know if that's one of the all-time factors or not, but it is as far as I'm concerned. Let's go back up to you upstairs.
So that's pretty much the story from Dallas. It'll be confirmed by Chuck Knox earlier today. It'll be Pat Hayden at quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams, and of course Roger Staubach for the Cowboys. Right now, we're just warming up your chairs and getting ready for tomorrow's pregame show.
Hi, I'm Brent Musburger. Hi, I'm Phyllis George. Hi, I'm Irv Krause.
Phyllis, what do you think about the game tomorrow?
Well, I'm going with the Cowboys.
Why?
I like the quarterback.
Irv, what do you think about the game tomorrow?
I think that's going to be a pretty good game. Now back to Minnesota.
That was darling.
Staubach, isn't that adorable?
Oh, that's darling. Well, we've still got time. Let's take a look now at some of the plays for the first half, because I'm sure that everyone wants to see that Sammy White catch again. Well, let's start off with the first offensive play. Fran to Brent McClanahan. Look at the hole that was opened up. Voigt with a block, Foreman with a block, and he gets down to the 25-yard line, a gain of 41 yards. Paul Horning has been telling our game director, Tony Verner, to watch for Stu Voigt, the way he keeps getting open on his replays, and here it paid off. Talking into Voigt, and he gets in. It was a touchdown, and after the extra point, it was 7-0. Mosley kicked the field goal. Back came the Vikes, and here it is, folks. Houston is there, and now in slow motion. One of the greatest catches I have ever watched. Consider the concentration right now going on with Sammy White as he rolls over and gets in, and it was 14-3. And then Tarkington went to his other wide receiver, Ahmad Rashad at the 25. And after this reception, of course, Chuck Foreman got in for the touchdown, and it was 21-3. And here is that score. Irv, quickly, what does Washington have to do to get back in it?
Because there's nothing you can do to defend against super plays. I really think they have to do something to shore up the right side of the defensive line. Minnesota's had great success running over their left guard and tackle.
All right. The NFL today will continue with the second half of Minnesota-Washington on CBS in just a moment.
Good. Now I can go to bed. Wait a minute. I want to give you your gift while we're alone. It's something just for you.
A washer and dryer.
Now, come on, will you be serious? Okay. Close your eyes. Merry Christmas.
Give her a diamond. It's forever.
At Bell Laboratories, we're working on an incredible new way to transmit phone calls. Listen as light turns into sound. The beam of light in this glass fiber can also carry telephone calls and other electronic communications. It can do the job better and cheaper than expensive copper phone wires. In a system now being developed, a few strands of glass fiber can carry as many calls as this bulky copper cable. There's another advantage to replacing copper wires with glass fibers. We'll never have to worry about running out of the natural resource needed to make them. It's called sand.
The Bell System. Nearly 1 million men and women working together with one common goal. To keep America's phone system the best in the world.
The bank robbery involving the Marshall's sons.
I've seen them both killed.
There's nothing I could do. Tried.
We ends know what to do with betrayers, and we'll kill them for sure.
4 men are gonna hang for something they didn't do, and they're just sitting fishing.
I just want to get back at Pa for never being around.
Give him a chance, J.D.
Pa!
John Wayne, Cahill, U.S. Marshal. Next week on the CBS Wednesday Night Movies.
Hi, everybody. Vin Scully, along with Paul Horning, welcoming you back to Bloomington. And we start the second half. Fred Cox signaling he's ready. And here we go, 21-3 Vikings. He thunders it to Ed Brown on the Washington 5. 15, 25. And Fred McNeil, among others, makes the first hit, and down he goes across the 25-yard line. Here are the numbers and part of the story of the first half. They don't tell you about that 41-yard quick burst by Brent McClanahan that set up the 18-yard touchdown pass to Stu Voigt. They don't tell you about the miraculous catch by Sammy White. And they don't tell you about Foreman's 18-yard scamper for a TD, but they do tell you enough. 1st and 10 from the Washington 27. Kilmer over the middle to Jefferson, right through his hands. And now it is becoming a case of Washington receivers just not hanging on to the ball, Paul.
Well, that's that strong side passing attack that we were talking about earlier. Here's Billy from the end zone going back. He hits this quick. He throws it as good as anybody in the league right there. And it has to be a perfect pass. As you can see, the Vikings are in that zone. Incomplete.
Fran Tarkenton, who had Bob Lee come in and finish up the first half, evidently is okay. 2nd and 10 from the Washington 27. Mike Thomas in the slot left. Kilmer, a diving try by Roy Jefferson, but he was out of bounds. Oh, no catch. You know, when you think about it, of course, it's oversimplifying, but you had the remarkable catch by Sammy White, and then the catch that was not by Frank Grant.
Frank Grant had a touchdown and just took his eye off of it in a crowd.
That's a big spread of points right there.
14. Washington does not have to get out of their game plan, Van. I'm sure at halftime he said, look, the most important thing, as far as George Allen is really concerned, I would think right now, Van, they got to move the football. They got to score first here in the third quarter. If the Vikings score first, then they've got to throw away their game plan and go upstairs.
3rd and 10 from the 27. Larry Brown staying in the block. Kilmer down the middle, juggled and dropped by Gene Fugit. And boy, they put a vice on him. Jeff Wright and Paul Krause, along with Matt Blair, so he was trying to catch it in the crowd and couldn't do it.
Kilmer put it right on the numbers. Billy goes back. This is a great pass on a post pattern with Gene Fugit. He had the first down. He just couldn't hold on again. Watch it. And I'm telling you, he threw that into traffic right on the button.
So Mike Bragg will be punting from his 13-yard line. Leonard Willis standing deep on the Viking 35. Vikes were coming, but he got it off. There's Leonard Willis, chased by Rusty Tillman, but he gets away from him, and Stu O'Dell just grabbed him by the neck and threw him out of bounds.
The Viking defense stops Washington immediately and gives the Viking offense great field position with an 18-point lead, and that's dangerous. Tarkenton is the quarterback, isn't he? Or is that Bobby Lee?
Wally Hilgenberg came within that much of blocking that punt. It's a 34-yard punt, 11-yard return, and the Vikes take over. 1st and 10 on their own 49. Tarkenton is in there. McClanahan in motion. Chuck Foreman into a gang. The first man to touch him was Big Dave Butts, and that slowed things up.
No fumbles today either.
On the ground, and this is so important, Washington trying to run. John Riggins has carried 4 times for 1 yard, and Mike Thomas 9 times for 22. Meanwhile, Minnesota has been able to hold on to the ball most of the day. Foreman is 11 for 37, and McClanahan is 8 for 67. 2nd and 7 from the 48 of Washington. McClanahan fighting his way inside the 45 before he's dropped by Ron McDowell.
You hear so many coaches in theory say you run at the strength. Minnesota Vikings have really run at the left side, and that's where all-pro for so many years Chris Hamburger is, and they're double teaming at the point of the attack there. Chuck Foreman has gotten inside of Hamburger on most occasions today. McDowell on the stop.
Washington 43-yard line where it's 3rd and 2 for the Vikings. We mentioned at the start of the game, the Vikings are #1 in total plays per game.
Yeah, they got the strength to the left side. Let's see if Fran goes over like he did. They go back to the weak side.
McClanahan into a crowd, and it's just a question of where they spot the ball.
Where is it? Did we make it? And McClanahan.
Brent McClanahan slowly climbing up.
I haven't heard it. Look like they may be a little bit short. Now, Bud Grant, and everybody has called him conservative. I want to tell you something, Ben. I've seen him on the opening series in a regular season game on his own 24-yard line, 4th and a half a foot. He goes for it on occasion.
Well, they need that much.
You watch it. I'll bet he go. I don't know about this.
They're going for it, and Chuck Foreman throwing his hands high in the air as if to say, thank you, coach.
He answered this question in a press conference yesterday. Bud Grant said, if we have a play on 4th and 1 that we think we could pick up a yard, I don't care where it is, we're going to go for it.
Well, here they go. They have 2 tight ends, Craig on the right side, Boyd on the left. Foreman high in the air.
Wasn't any question who we were going to give it to there, was it?
You talk about a stairway to paradise. They ought to play that music back of Foreman's high dive.
Shades of Sam the Bam Cunningham on short yardage.
Watch him now. The stairway to paradise. Up the ladder he goes.
You think he could stuff a basketball? He got up about 50 inches there.
Turned him upside down, too.
Yes, sir.
Whew. Shake well before using. Okay, 1st and 10. The ball on the Washington 40-yard line. They just did make it. Rashad wide right with White in a slot. Boyd on the left side. McClanahan in motion. Parkinen throwing back to McClanahan. So they sent him in motion, and they hit him on the 35. Lavender and Hamburger bringing him down.
This is because Washington is a man-to-man defense. There is Hamburger, man-to-man with Stu Voigt, and outside, the cornerback Lavender has McClanahan man-to-man.
The ball on the Washington 33-yard line. That brings smiles from the Minnesota crowd. It is 2nd and about 3. Rashad right, Sammy White left, Boyd on the left side. Chuck Foreman trying to go inside McClanahan, dropped the ball, and Minnesota's Brent McClanahan recovered the fumble.
I tell you, that's when everything's going right, man.
Yep.
That fumble, possibly, if it had not have bounced right, would have been a Washington Redskin football. That touchdown pass that Sammy White came up with in the first half, that great catch, it just happened to be bouncing right. Look at that, right into the hands of McClanahan.
If McClanahan had left his feet throwing the block, there wouldn't have been any way to recover the ball. Instead, he was in a hand fight on the edge, so he was still standing, and the ball just bounced right towards him.
And they get a first down out of it.
Well, boy, I'll tell you one thing. If the rest of this game goes the way it's going, Washington had better drive home carefully. They have not gotten a break all day. Everything has come up roses from Minnesota, and under the weather conditions, no reason why. It was about 43 degrees, but with no breeze and a strong sun, it's a very pleasant day.
And this kind of field that the Vikings won, a lot of people said they wanted snow and ice. No. With the type of offense they have, they want to be able to throw the football and cut.
1st and 10 on the Skins' 30-yard line. Parkinen going down the right side to Rashad, and it's out of the ballpark. Pat Fisher was there with him, but they left town to go after that one.
That's a fade-out pattern, man-to-man, and you know, so many people go after Pat Fisher on that play, but keep in mind one thing. He's the most experienced cornerback on bump and run because he gets it thrown at him so many times during the year. He actually defends against that pass better than any cornerback.
He is 5 feet 9 inches tall. On the other side, you have Joe Lavender, who is 6'4". So if they're going to throw that little high lob, you would figure they'd go after Fisher.
And what a fighter he is, huh?
There's Joe at 6'4". 2nd and 10 from the 30 of Washington. Foreman on a big hole, across the 20, across the 10.
He's something else.
He's out in touchdown land.
He's something else, baby. I tell you,
30 yards.
Ben, he beats that first tackler every time.
Jake Scott was grasping at a memory. You watch him run around number 13.
Look at this move here. Boom.
Yeah.
Jake Scott, I'll see you later, Daddy. Oh, he can pick it up.
Double fours. Worn for so many years by the great home run hitter Henry Aaron.
He can hit the home run in the football field. I can tell you that. Being congratulated by Nate Allen.
He just hit it out.
His second touchdown of the day, Ben.
27-3, Minnesota. And that'll make it 28. So the Minnesota Vikings have Washington by the war bonnet right now, 28-3.
You know, even in a plastic world, some things should never change. Like blue jeans. There's nothing plastic or phony about them. They're made of cotton. Look at the label. 100% cotton denim. That's why jeans fit natural, feel natural, and wash cotton clean. I tell you, you can't beat 100%. It's Big John here with the late night. If denim jeans aren't all cotton, they're not denim jeans at all.
Tonight, taste this superb wine against your favorite. A California wine made predominantly from the French Colombard grape. A superb grape that is used to enhance the flavor of many fine white wines. This unexcelled French Colombard by Ernest and Julio Gallo has a uniquely dry yet gentle taste. Enjoy the distinctive and delightful flavor of French Colombard by Ernest and Julio Gallo.
Minnesota shooting down the Redskins 28-3. 10:47 to go in the third quarter. Eddie Brown from the 10 to the 25 to the 30. And 5 Vikes bring him down. Gumler and Hall and Craig and Beeman and McNeil. Well, Billy Kilmer, boy, you talk about an uphill fight now. 1st and 10 on his own 30, and Minnesota leading 28-3. You could read Kilmer's lips in. Let's go, boys, let's go. In motion, Mike Thomas. Kilmer to Fugit, and he makes a great catch. Bobby Bryant went nose to nose with him, just shy of midfield. So Gene Fugit makes it 1st down at midfield. Good catch. Picked up 20. Gene Fugit, by the way, in his 8th playoff game, Gene was a big part in last year's Dallas miraculous victory over Minnesota.
He caught 7 passes in his Dallas career, touchdown passes. He's caught 6 already this year.
1st and 10 from midfield. Kilmer hesitates, throws over the middle, off Jefferson's hands. No catch by Nate Wright. Well, Roy Jefferson trying to fingertip it, and he can't do it. You want to talk about a tightrope act? Watch this high wire act, staying just in bounds by Chuck Foreman. He can always work for Ringling Brothers when he quits football. Right on the chalk. Tippy-toeing in. 2nd and 10 from midfield. Kilmer sends Grant left and Jefferson right. Fugit tight end on the right side. Mike Thomas hit, and he's out. To the 40, to the 35, to the 30, and finally dragged down by Bobby Bryant at the 30. So Mike Thomas Both open for 20 through the left side.
Good run by Mike Thomas here. The Redskins very desperately need to put 7 on the board here. He cuts back against the grain here. He broke a tackle from Doug Sutherland. He cuts outside. Going to pick up 20. A good block by Grant on Paul Krause. And Bobby Bryant stops him after a pick up a 20 in the first down.
1st and 10 on the Viking 30. Kilmer, a little release to Riggins, who makes a remarkable catch and staggers to the 20-yard line. John Riggins coming out of a crowd after apparently staying in to block.
Fullback delay against the grain. Billy rolling out to the left. He knows Riggins is back on the right side. He's going to slip on a little delay here. A little almost like a basketball pass. And Riggins one-hands it, gets it into his body very close to the first down.
They're checking it now. The ball is right on the Viking 20-yard line. It started on the Washington 30, so they moved 50 yards and in a hurry. And they picked up the first down. 28-3 Minnesota, and the Redskins trying to get off the floor. 9.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. George Allen trying to will his team across the goal line. Grant in a slot right inside Jefferson, in motion Thomas. Riggins got a good block from Saul. He took care of Hilgenberg, and that gave him 4 or 5 yards. Bryant and Amos Martin finally coming up to make the tackle.
Amos Martin has done a fine job this afternoon filling in for Jeff Seaman. He's got a bruised left leg, will not play anymore today, and Amos Martin has really not seen that much action this year in that middle linebacker spot.
So Riggins picked up 4 to make it 2nd and 6 from the 16-yard line. Remember, in the first half, John carried the ball 4 times for only 1 yard. Thomas in motion. Over to Frank Grant, and he's got a first down as he is knocked out of bounds at the 5-yard line.
And a back
flag
judge,
on the play.
Back judge threw a flag all the way from the end zone all the way out to the 9-yard line.
I would think it's against Washington, and it is.
They've got to get in for 7 here, Vin. Right away. They've got to get that 7 points back and just hope that that defense can get a turnover, a fumble.
Offensive pass interference, number 80, 2nd down.
Leroy Jefferson is caught pushing. That adds 10 yards and makes it 2nd and 16 from the 26.
Another big turnaround. Instead of having the football inside the 10 with the first down.
Standing on the sideline, Amos Martin along with Jeff Wright.
2nd down and 16. For the
That's in the middle.
Yeah, right. 2nd and 16 for the 26. Gilmer looking into the corner, throwing for Jefferson, led him too much. Bobby Bryant over there with him.
Boy, out left to Jefferson. Just the timing was not perfect on the play. Overthrown. Billy a little bit disgusted.
Oh, it's 3rd and 16 from the Viking 26.
I'm looking into that sun coming from the right of your screen here.
Bud Grant watching his Vikings, who are leading by 25 points with 8 minutes and 19 seconds to go in the third quarter. And Billy Kilmer, 11 for 26, somehow trying to make the key fit the lock. 3rd and 16. Big rush. Complete to Frank Grant inside the 20, and they'll bring him down at about the 17-yard line. A big reception for Frank Grant, and he was hit hard by Bobby Bryant and also Nate Allen, but he held on to it.
Again, Kilmer on the scramble. He's got pressure. He doesn't even have time enough to look downfield. Jumps over Alan Page, trying to grab him from behind. He finally finds his receiver, Frank Grant, and Bobby Bryant stops him. I think they're going to bring in Mosley.
So it's 4th down. The ball is on the 18-yard line.
Would they try the fake here with Joe Theismann?
The ball will be spotted on the 25. So it's a 35-yard field goal attempt. Mosley hit one in the first quarter. It's good. Well, psychologically, I guess half a loaf is better than none.
That's right.
But they have to remember that completed catch would have made it first and goal from the 5, and they lost all of that on the penalty. So they settle for 3. It's 28-6 Minnesota.
You're watching Bud Beechwood, TV producer and writer.
I may risk my neck for fun, but when it comes to money, I want my feet on solid ground. That's what I told Merrill Lynch. So they showed me ways to be on the safe side and still get a good return. Like 8% utilities, A-rated. That's my kind of security.
At Merrill Lynch, you don't have to take big risks to share in America's growth.
Son, could I use your car tonight?
Sure. Don't forget to put some gas in it.
Every family should have at least one diehard. Because the diehard has extra power to start your car when most batteries won't. Sold only at sea.
Seven minutes and 24 seconds to go in the third quarter. 28-6 Minnesota. And here we go. It'll be Leonard Willis on his 13. Hit hard by Ted Fritz before he could get to the 25. So Fritz, one of the special team men, quickly down to hit Willis and take him out. And they'll spot the ball on the 23-yard line. The Washington scoring drive that wound up with that 35-yard field goal. So they have 2 field goals, a 47-yard field goal by Mark Mosley, and now a 35. But Vikings comfortably sitting on top of a 28-6 lead.
And then both Foreman and McClanahan could be headed for a 100-yard rushing day. Foreman 74 yards and 15 carries. McClanahan 70 and 9.
McClanahan bursting out across the 30-yard line. Harold McClendon down at the bottom at the ankles. But boy, with that quick speed, he just blew him wide open. And the bottom man getting up very slowly is Kenny Houston.
They're beating him up front. The offensive line of the Vikings firing off the football. They're controlling the line of scrimmage. When you get a guy like Foreman, put him just 2 steps into the secondary, gets by the linebacker, it seems, almost every time, and he can pick him up and lay him down.
2nd and 2 from the 32. White in a slot inside Rashad to the left. And it's McClanahan again, hit hard, head first by McClinton, and from the back by Dave Butts.
Well, how many times today have we seen the Vikings with the 2nd 2, 2nd 3? That is a big key.
You know, you said, Paul, that Minnesota is beating them up front, and they're winning 28-6. Can you remember a game where a club beat another team without beating them up front?
You know you got it. That's the name of the game, Ben. Yeah. It's blocking and tackling. It hadn't changed for 50 years. We're much more sophisticated today nationally. We've got a lot more different pass routes. But I want to tell you, you get the guys, those 5 guys up front, they win the battle there, you're going to win it.
Well, they picked up the first down, 1st and 10 from the 34-yard line of Minnesota. McClanahan now has 11 carries for 80 yards. And remember, McClanahan came into this game with a rushing average of only 2.9. And here he is, over 7 a carry. So they give it to McClanahan. And he goes out to the 45-yard line, and they just can't stop him. He picks up another 11 yards. So that's 12 carries for 92 yards.
Watch Ed White and Ron Yeri work on the right side. There he is, 62, Ed White, going against Dave Butts. Cross blocking. Yeri blocked down, and Ed White goes out and pushes Ron Monroe to the outside. And the quick hitting McClanahan is very, very close to another first down. You wouldn't think they're keying Foreman a little bit too much. McClanahan, this is his best day of the year.
Second down and about 1. The Minnesota fans enjoying the weather, enjoying the game. And McClanahan enjoying everything.
You know, I worked up here with the Vikings for 5 years in the radio broadcast, and it's true. This is the most unbelievable day in December you'll ever see up here.
Here goes Foreman, outside Yeri. Still on his feet and dragged down as he crossed the 45-yard line. Harold McClinton, who seems to be making almost all of the tackles now, finally dragging him down.
Ooh, 13-yard pickup. Foreman out of the fullback position. I watched the double team on the outside. McClanahan had a good block by Steve Craig. Here comes Foreman back. Ooh, what a forearm. Who was that? That was Kenny Houston. Almost tore his head off. Finally stopped by McClinton.
So another first down. Foreman now has 88 yards. McClanahan 89. First and 10 from the Washington 43. And it's Foreman's turn. But as he dodged one attempted tackle by Dave Butch, he ran into several others, and that slows him down for the moment.
You know what Fran Tarken's doing right now, don't you, Ben? Picking up the yardage on the ground. He's eating up a lot of valuable time off that clock.
This third quarter is almost history. It's 4 minutes left to go.
They're controlling the football, and Tarkey, then you give him 5 or 6 yards, he can pick it up on the ground. He's going to stuff it right down your throat. Why go away from something's good? Let's keep it on the ground.
That is a beleaguered front four for Washington now, with McDowell and Brundage, Talbot and Johnson. They've taken quite a heavy pounding. 2nd and 9 from the Washington 42. That's to Sammy White. Chasing him is Kenny Houston, and finally wrestles him down at the 30-yard line. And now they're starting to almost move the ball at will. That's another first down.
He comes out with the passing situation, man-to-man. Sammy White, his 3rd catch of the afternoon. They got a little move. He's got Ken Houston man-to-man. Naturally, you got to give him 4 or 5 yards.
The first and 10 for Minnesota on the Washington 30-yard line.
And the fans are alive here. They're happy with the 22-point lead.
Sammy White, wide right. Ahmad Rashad wide left, and McClanahan in motion. And it's Foreman somehow twisting for another couple. At the bottom was Byron Talbot. Fran Tarkenton was quoted earlier as saying there are 2 things he believes in with all his heart. That Sammy White should be the Rookie of the Year, and that Chuck Foreman is the most valuable player of the Minnesota Vikings.
He's the best draft pick that they ever took here at Minnesota. Before Foreman arrived here, their running attack was like 2 yards, 3 yards, and he always was in a passing situation. This guy has changed it all. Tarkenton ought to give him about 10% of his salary. He's going to keep him playing another 10 years.
McClanahan tied up by Hamburger at the top. He had him from the back, and then he let go once he had slowed him up. Brad Dusek put him away. Minnesota won the opening toss, and they have won just about everything else all day.
It's a pretty good team protecting the lead, too, wouldn't you say, Ben?
I should say, and what a lead. 22 points with 2 minutes and 19 seconds to go in the third quarter. 3rd and 6 from the 26. Sammy White wide right. Ahmad Rashad wide left.
Check those 2 backs. They swing out of the backfield. They're going against the linebackers. There they go.
They both go out. Tarkenton over the middle to Stu Voigt. He was in front of Jake Scott and just beat him. And he got inside the 15-yard line.
He reiterates, Stu Voigt has only caught 28 passes this year, and that's good for this tight end, believe me. But against Washington, the last time out, he caught 8. And Fran Tarkenton goes right back to him. He makes the big catch, and he's got a good pair of hands. This is a good football player, Voigt. Very underrated.
We have 1 minute and 30 seconds to go to the end of the third quarter. Fran Tarkenton playing with house money now, a big lead. Time is a factor on his side, and he's close to bringing home another one. 1st and 10 from the 12. McClanahan following Foreman, hit at the 10, and goes forward for a yard or 2 more.
Well, the Redskins pulling out all the stops on defense now. They had a safety blitz. Every linebacker's filling the hole and the gaps. You get one of those backs, Foreman or McClanahan, that happens to split it. They catch him in trap blocking. They're going to go right to the goal line.
2nd and 7 from the 9. with less than a minute to go in the third quarter. 28-3 Minnesota. Rashad right, Sammy White left. Back stay in for the moment, then release in the end zone to Sammy White. Touchdown. He just took it away from Joe Lavender.
He beat Joe Lavender on it, just a corner pattern, just a square out. Sammy White, 3 touchdowns last week. He came back today with his second touchdown pass. Well, look at the pass protection, Ben. He just looked to the left. Sammy White beat him easily on a square out.
It is 34-6 Minnesota. And the Redskins, who tried to surround the wagon train, have been dehorsed.
Oh, Fran Tarkenton's called just an excellent football game. He's like a surgeon there. He just cuts you apart. He'll nickel and dime you, and he'll go for the bomb. And he says this is the best 2 wide receivers he's ever thrown to in professional football, Rashad and Sammy White. This guy might be the National Football League Player of the Year if this keeps up in the playoffs. White.
Cox picks it up, and good. The Minnesota Vikings are leading the Washington Redskins 35-6 with 37 seconds left to go in the third quarter. It's time to pass the peace pipe.
Sooner or later, you're going to get some white owls. And when you do, we gotcha. Maybe we'll get you with the early American jar with 25 Invincibles. Or the Decorator Duck. Or a White Owl gift box with my picture on it. But you know we're gonna get you. Not this Christmas.
Lester here wears the same outfit every show, but I don't. So I start with Hager slacks. And for today's matinee, I'll add this Hager top. For the supper show, and at midnight, this great suit look. All outfits of Encron polyester double knit. Priced so I can afford to look like a headliner. So why don't you buy me Hager slacks? Because Hager doesn't make them for dummies.
Hager, America's best-known name in slacks.
Okay, let's move.
Fred Cox is asked to kick off again as Minnesota leading 35-6 with 37 seconds left to go in the third quarter. Freddie kicks it deep to Eddie Brown at the 5. Behind the wedge to the 20, and down he goes, and he was hit hard there by Fred McNeil after Windland Hall just blew the whole wedge down.
Did you see that? He threw his body right into it.
Windland Hall will not get much publicity, but he just wiped out a wedge. Great play by the special teams. And there is the contrast. Bud Grant on the phones listening to Jerry Burns, and George Allen listening to his special drummer at this stage of the game. 35-6 Minnesota. First and 10 Washington on their own 23. Jefferson wide left, Fugit on the left side, Grant right. They really split Riggins and Thomas to block. The pass to Jefferson, juggled and carried out of bounds. No catch. Bobby Bryant and Wally Hilgenberg there.
Well, he said he was going to go to the strong side passing attack, which he has done, but he's had 4 or 5 drop passes today. That one was juggled. He would have caught it. It would have been a completed pass before he got outside.
On the sidelines for Minnesota, Bob Lee is loosening up again. Remember, he was in for the last couple of plays of the second quarter. And leading 35-6, why Francis might have the rest of the afternoon off.
He's had a pretty good day. 12 out of 21, 170 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Mike Thomas out across the 25, fumbled, I believe, after the whistle. Nate Wright coming up quickly to smother that play. John Riggins going out. It'll be third down and a good 7. And we have run out of time. Minnesota just about kept the ball throughout the third quarter. And so we've got 15 minutes left here at the Met as far as Washington is concerned. 35-6 Vikings.
Now, at a theater near you, you can see the most exciting, original motion picture event of all time.
Over the gate!
King Kong. King Kong. Rated PG. Check newspapers for a theater near you.
There are a lot of small cars to choose from, but Ford Pinto stands alone as the best-selling small car in America. Pinto outsells Vega, Chevette, Datsun B210, Toyota Corolla, everybody. Pinto has a low price, reduced schedule maintenance requirements, and high resale value, hundreds of dollars more than Vega. Considering a small car, consider the one that is the best-selling small car in America, Ford Pinto. When America needs a better idea, Ford puts it on wheels.
That's me in action against the Dolphins in Super Bowl VII. And this is me a month later talking about that game with our soldiers in Korea. Each year, a group of NFL players, in cooperation with the USO, spends several weeks on a goodwill tour in the Far East. More than 100 NFL players have made the trip since 1966. It's just part of the USO's work, and it's made possible through your support of the United Way. Thanks to you, it works for all of us. The United Way.
The preceding announcement brought to you as a public service by the National Football League. Gilmer over the right side, intended for Mike Thomas, and he just threw it over his head, and Billy, furious at himself, take another look as to exactly why.
Well, it's been a combination. The guy's open, Billy's a little off target. When he is on target, they've been dropping the football. Thomas right over the middle, wide open, way behind him. Incomplete, fourth down, let's kick it.
Now you'll see Billy showing the other side of an incompleted pass. Rawr.
My man, I love him.
From the 25-yard line, they have run out of steam, so Mike Bragg will have to punt it out of there. Leonard Willis standing on his own 35. Up in front is Autry Beeman and Sammy White. And it's heading down the left side. Willis in pursuit. And it goes out of bounds. They'll spot it at the 41-yard line, where Washington will now see Minnesota put it in play. And it seems like that's about what Washington has been doing as Minnesota holds on to the ball. We'll return to Metropolitan Stadium after this word from your local station.
Alice's mother-in-law decides to become a permanent house guest. But Alice has other ideas. Tonight on CBS.
For Minnesota, they take over 1st and 10 on their own 42, and at the wheel, Bob Lee. And over in the sidelines, Fran Tarkenton taking a well-deserved rest. He has called a tremendous game. So Bob Lee, out of the College of Pacific, gets a chance to get his feet wet, gives to McClanahan, and Hamburger grabbed him by the shirt and brought him down.
That's the first loss today by Minnesota on a rushing attempt. Bobby Lee, 15 out of 30 on the year, so he actually hasn't seen too much action. But all Minnesota, first 3 quarters, Ben, they put together 351 yards in offense.
And Tarkenton calling some magnificent plays. He really has been the general today. Oh, bad handoff. Recovered by Minnesota, frustrating Dennis Johnson and Harold McClendon. They thought they might have had a pop at it, but the ball bounced right back up to Brent McClanahan. That's the second time McClanahan has gotten that bunt. Say, by the way, you can add the many talents of Dick Van Dyke to those of Carol Burnett and her crew, and you have a truly delightful hour. Be sure to share it tonight at 10 p.m., 9 Central. 3rd and 18. On the Viking 34-yard line, Sammy White right, Rashad left. Lee to McClanahan, and he bumped into him on the handoff, so you can tell they're a little rusty with him. There was a handoff with a block attached to it.
Well, I figured not too many big mistakes. Let's run 3 plays and keep the ball on the ground. That eats off another minute, half off that clock.
McClanahan going out along with Chuck Foreman. Foreman has rushed for 93 yards and McClanahan for 91.
And an unusual stat, Chuck Foreman has not caught a pass.
4th and 12. From the Viking 39-yard line, and Neil Clabo will be kicking to Eddie Brown, who is standing on his 25. Boy, did he get one off. Brown going back to his 13 to field it. Gets away from McNeil. Beeman hits him. He gets away from Beeman, and he's finally dragged down by Sammy Johnson. Johnson along with Hamilton on the special teams, and Autry Beeman, who took a lick from Pete Wysocki, is really shaken up. So with 12:34 left to go in the ball game, it is Minnesota 35 and the Redskins 6.
Oh, boy. Most of these CB brands I never heard of. Where do I start? CB by RCA. Now, that's a dependable name. Well, that makes it easy. I'll get the one from the communications experts. CB by RCA.
Now you're talking RCA.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic scoring play by that New York Life Insurance team. Let's see the instant replay. Look at those New York Life pros blocking out Jake's money problems, stopping his retirement worries. And there he is, reaching his goal. Jake's got financial security.
New York Life made it happen.
Where the name of the game is life, there's New York Life.
How many congressmen were on the take from a Korean businessman? This story and more as 60 Minutes comes your way at 10, 9 Central for this edition only tomorrow night.
Fran Tarkenton talking to Bob Lee on the Minnesota sidelines. 35-6 Vikings, 12.5 left to go in the game. And it's 1st and 10 Washington from their own 15. Jim Marshall was moving on the play. The pass complete to the 35-yard line to Roy Jefferson. And let's wait and see whether Marshall was drawn off or not, but he was flying.
Got off the ball very quickly. There's Roy Jefferson, who just caught the pass. It'll be a 1st down. They'll decline that penalty. 18-yard pickup on the play. Here's Kilmer. Here's play action. That's Calvin Hill in now, one of the running backs. Comes over to the middle to his flanker, Roy Jefferson, who holds on. He's stopped by Wally Hilgenberg. Well, looks like the Vikings are going to be back home here next week.
Refused. 1st down. So Jim Marshall was offside. Naturally, the penalty refused. 1st and 10 on the 35-yard line. Frank Grant to the left, Roy Jefferson to the right. Dugan, the tight end, on the right side. Kilmer over the middle to Grant, grabbed by Bryant and Krause, and then Minnesota holds a team meeting on his body.
Tackled by the defensive secondary of the Minnesota Vikings.
Looked like a team picture.
I was going to say the Vikings will be playing at home, the winner of the Ram-Cowboy game. Who do you like in that game, Ben?
I like them both.
You like them both, right?
Clever, huh?
I tell you, Pat Hayden, we understand, from Tom Brookshire, and Pat Summerall at halftime, he's going to get the starting nod. I like that young man. He does a great job. The Cowboys with Roger Staubach. Going to be quite a battle right here tomorrow on CBS.
1st and 10 on the Viking 48. Kilmer to John Riggins. Riggins with Nugent in front of him. Gets across the 40 before going out of bounds at the 38-yard line. Nate Allen along with Wendland Hall pushing him out. Riggins in the first half rushed for 1 yard, and so far prior to this carry he had picked up 4 more.
Makes a good cut here. John Riggins would have liked to carry the ball 20 to 25 times, and the reason for that, Billy Kilmer told me, if he can run the football 20 to 25 times, we're going to be in the football game. It's going to be a close one, and we will have control of it. That did not happen today.
No, he's carried for 6 times, and they are not in the game. 2nd and 1 from the 39. Kilmer to Gene Fugit, and it's broken up. Bobby Bryant all over the big tight end to knock it out. 11:37 to go.
It is again. Square out on the left side. Billy's looking left all the way. Bobby Bryant. Ball's up in the air just a little bit too long. Intended for Gene Fugit.